So this is just, I guess, my 2-month review of my Syil X7, and I guess, how the machine has been, how the company has been. So the long story short, if you're tuning into this YouTube video and you just want to hear the verdict, this machine is good. I like it. It's been doing a lot of production work for me. It's been very reliable. It's been very good value for the money. If you're not new to CNC, so maybe you have you're working in a shop for a little bit, or you have experience with Tormach, or you kind of know your way around G-code or using CAM software. This might be a good step for you. If you have no experience with CNC, there's going to be a very steep learning curve, and this machine does go pretty fast. So maybe you should start off somewhere else. Anyways, so if you're in the first group where you have some experience, yeah, I would recommend it. Like, let's say you have a product that you're pushing out, or maybe you have machining jobs coming in, and you have a small garage like I do, then this is probably a really good machine to look at. Okay, so I guess I'll start with the bad, since the good outnumbers the bad. What kind of went wrong when I got the machine, and what has happened in the 2 months that I've been using it? When I first got it, the ATC wouldn't change tools, and that was all due to a small pin in the air cylinder that pushes the arm down. It was in like just a little bit too much, like a 1/16 of an inch, or maybe like a millimeter or so. But basically, I took off the cover after some debugging. I took off the cover, I took out the pin, and it works fine. It works perfectly. It's flawless. It's all closed feedback. I think there's like 2 servo motors in there, so it always just repeats. I guess I should add a little note about that. So Paul at Syil America, I guess he's the support for the US branch. He was really helpful walking me through the debugging process on a Saturday night for him. I wasn't expecting that, and that's great because I work a day job. So I appreciate that there was help on the weekend when I have time to debug. So that works great now. Another small gripe that I have is this table over here. This is super minor, but basically I kind of wish that the slots over here, that they'll be open so I could just, using the wash down hose, just push the chips out easier. And it clogs up a little bit more with chips, but that's really minor. It's kind of a common style. Another small gremlin that I have was when I first got the machine. I must be one of the first, or maybe one of the first people in the US to have that side mount tool changer, because it runs on 380 volts 3-phase, and my machine is single volt 220. I mean single phase 220 volts. So what Syil does is they provide this external transformer that powers the side mount tool changer. So I have the base machine plugged into my 220 single phase, and that was supposed to power everything. But when I got the machine, it would shut off pretty quickly after startup. I would say within five minutes, and it sounded like like a breaker was tripping. And sure enough, Paul was walking me through this again, spending a few hours of a Saturday. We found that a breaker called C10 in there. It probably just can't handle load. So what Paul thinks is that Syil doesn't, because they're based in China, they don't currently, or at least when they're building my machine, they probably didn't have a setup, like a single phase 220 setup to test the machine. So maybe it wasn't, or maybe they had it on for less than 5 minutes, I don't know. But I guess they didn't catch that one small error. Anyways, both Syil China and then Syil USA, they helped me debug all of that so that I was able to get this up and running pretty much within hours. The solution was to just hook up the transformer, which is 220 single phase, to an external outlet. They're sending me a replacement breaker that's bigger, I gotta follow up with them about that. What else is there? So this control, and this is all on me. This is not really a bad review towards Syil at all, but this is kind of more toward the LNC. There's just some small things like, you know, this is obviously a bug in software. It's supposed to say like the spindle speed I set it at, and the actual spindle speed. And you can see there's kind of like a bug over here. I don't really care about that, but it's, you know, it could be better. The other thing is that this machine, or this controller rather, it doesn't come with conversational. So if you want conversational, you probably need to go with the Siemens. But other than that, this controller does everything I want it to do. And I think the last thing that I have is that when I first filled up the coolant tank, there's a really, let me try getting closer. There's a really small coolant leak, and you can see that I patched it up with epoxy. And what I noticed was on that little kind of like knob right there, that little pipe, it almost looked like they didn't put 100% weld. Like there was a very small portion, like maybe like that big, where they missed, or maybe maybe it was fine at the factory because they said they tested it and it got bumped in shipping. Completely believable because this traveled across the Pacific in a boat. And I think that's about it. Oh, last one. So I had a Tormach 1100M. Yeah. And one thing that I really liked was the lights. They did not cheap out on lights at all. It was just so blinding, like floodlights within the machine. The style comes with this side one right here, which is, you know, it does a job. I said it meets a functional requirement. I wish it was a little bright over here, and it would make filming a lot nicer. I know that if you specifically request it, they'll add another one. So if you really want it, I guess they can do it. I do wish it was a little brighter. But other than that, that's kind of all the bad. That really isn't that much. I guess my other gripe is you can't really tell what the coolant level is. Kind of minor. This coolant tank is one solid piece. It's in the shape of a U. It's a little humbug to pull out. That's just because I don't really have much space. If I had the space that they recommended, the footprint would be no problem. And now that I think about it, the very last one is that the coolant pump over here. It doesn't quite, in my opinion, it doesn't quite sit low enough. It's probably like 3 inches off the bottom of the tank, maybe. So once your tank is halfway empty, the coolant starts to really lag. That's kind of a minor fix if you want to fix it. I just top it off every week or so. Not a big deal. Alright, so what's good about this machine? Well, there's kind of a lot. So going back, I guess I'll start here. Going back on the coolant tank. The way that the coolant tank is built is that there are trays for your chips. Pretty easy to take out, clean. Lots of perforated sheet for filtering it out. There are different compartments, sort of, so that when the oil does come to the top, it's kind of easy to like manually skim it out. I probably will invest in an oil skimmer at some point in the future. One thing I liked about their design was that, so the coolant, it's all accumulating in here, and then there's actually another, like a fourth compartment over here, where there's a pretty fine perforated piece of sheet metal that keeps the chips out, and then the coolant tank itself is, it's raised like how I mentioned, so that if there are fine chips, it doesn't get in, or it doesn't get in as frequently. But the perforated sheet on the coolant pump itself also filters it out. So basically, all the chips that could get in there, it kind of has a long way to get into them, which is nice because I want to clean this coolant tank like I guess it depends on how much I machine, but maybe like twice a year. I don't know. I guess I'll figure it out. What else? This ATC was about $5,700. It's BT30 16 position, and it's really fast. Let me try and show you real quick. NDI, yeah, 204. Okay, that's fine. Okay, log in. Let's try to see how fast it is. It's like, well, 1 or 2 seconds. I mean, granted, I think you can program it for the next standby tool. I haven't done that. But it's crazy fast. It's been 100% reliable. You know, for $5,700 compared to like my Tormach ATC, this is 10 times more. This is way better, hands down. Okay, so the ATC is good. I've had kind of no problems with the machine itself. It's reliable. It repeats. It's got absolute positioning. So power outage, you know, e-stop, doesn't care. It still knows where it is. It's got metal weight covers, and I love that because I was tired of those accordion style fabric ones where, you know, after like a certain amount of time you have to replace it. And it's kind of just, it's just a pain in the ass to take it off, and it's just to clean it. So I'm really happy with the metal weight covers. Coolant drains fine, no problem there. I actually prefer the bottom is kind of flat, and then, you know, it tapers off so that coolant can drain, and I actually prefer that because on my 1100M, yeah, chips could fall down pretty easily, but every time I dropped an Allen wrench, it went into the black hole. It was gone, and I have to fish for it in the chip tray, and I mean, it's minor, but it was kind of irritating. Yeah, granted, the solution is don't drop your Allen wrench, but it happens. It comes with a wash-down hose. That's great. The coolant pump, I think we sort of saw the size, but you know, this is the coolant pressure, and I love it. It's high pressure. I've been machining stainless and titanium on this, so you definitely want those chips out of the way, and it does the job. The coolant pump is kind of beefy. It's like 5 times bigger than the one that, you know, the little 1/8 horsepower ones that hobby machines come with. I'm not sure what horsepower it is, but I'm gonna guess it's like 1/2 or 3/4. The coolant lines are nice and big. Everything is just industrial. It's all high, I guess, you know, robust quality. It doesn't come with the pneumatic air hose. No big deal. I installed it myself. This MPG is great. It's kind of a basic one, but it does the job a lot better than the shuttle jog, in my opinion. If you select, I had a little bit of a problem where I would bump the buttons on my shuttle jog and select, you know, like Z by accident, or step size 0.1 instead of 0.001. And you know, when you're jogging and you think that you're at 1 thou and you're actually at 100 thou, that's when you start breaking things like, you know, Heimer tips or bits or scrapping parts. So that's nice. The enclosure is rock solid. It's 16 gauge steel, powder coated, so I don't see any paint peeling. On my other machine, my 1100M, the paint just kind of peeled off instantly. Even in the motor housing, the paint peeled off, and they claimed that my coolant concentration was wrong, which, you know, may have been the case. I actually think my Synergy 735 batch was kind of a botched batch, so maybe that's why it was coming off. The doors are tempered glass. I had a big 3-inch piece of aluminum that I wasn't really holding well enough, and the machine ripped it out of the vise, and it bounced off the glass and bounced off somewhere in there. But basically, I was kind of impressed that the window didn't break. It wasn't a super hard impact, but I guess it goes to show like just how strong the glass is. And there's tempered glass on the side doors as well. They didn't have to do that, but they did it. There's a nice door lock. So when the machine is running, obviously it's not running now. When the machine is running, you can't open the door. And when you do open the door, the machine, at least from what I've seen, it's, you know, the servo will stop moving. The spindle will still run, but it'll pause program. What else is there? Let's see. This machine is 3,000 pounds, or just under 3,000 pounds, which is beefier than other machines of similar price. I paid, I think it was 33 or 34 grand, and that includes the shipping costs from China to Hawaii, which is not trivial. That's kind of expensive. And this is not quite their stock machine. I know Syil has stock machines in like Houston or California or something. The difference with mine is the upgraded tool changer. Their umbrella style is kind of standard. I suppose you have to look at their site. This one was about 3.5 grand more. This controller is the LNC 6800. It's not listed on their site. You have to ask them for it. It's about $1,500 more, and you get a larger screen. You get more. I think there's more soft buttons, and you get these dials down here, which is really nice because you have more increments to control things like your feed rate and your speed, your spindle speed. And I think it does 4+1 machining, although I haven't figured that out yet. What else is there? Oh, and I also opted for the automatic tool changer or tool presetter. I haven't set that up yet because I just needed to make parts quickly and just make money on this machine. But that was another like $1,500 or something like that. And then rigid tapping comes standard. At least with the Siemens and the LNC controllers. I'm not too sure about the Mach 3 or Mach 4, but if you're gonna spend this kind of money on a machine, you should just go and get the industrial controller. And there's some tiny things too, like the side doors. You know, they've designed it so that coolant doesn't drain out. Like I said, tempered glass. There's some really small things like these hinges are metal. I'm used to the plastic hinges. Throughout the entire machine, the bolts are all socket head cap or button cap screws, which is nice because in previous machines I had like Phillips head, and I think they may have been stainless, but they just strip so easily, and like if you have to get it at an angle, you know, with a Phillips head that's kind of impossible. But with the socket, you can actually do that with a ball head Allen wrench. Yeah, and then one thing that I really love is there's no leaks. Except for that one in the back that I fixed, no leaks at all. So, in my old machine, I had Synergy 735, and to get it to Hawaii, it's about $500 for 5 gallons. And I swear, like half of it leaked out, and that's hard because that's expensive. But this machine, none of it has leaked out, so I don't know. I might try it again. I'm using some clear version of trim coolant. It's fine, it does the job. I might stick with it. It's only like $170 on Amazon. Yeah, I mean, I guess the other thing I have to add is, you know, some people are kind of concerned with solid support, like they think that there's no support. And that's partially true. They're definitely getting a lot better. They have their head engineer, Mr. Chen in China, who actually responds to emails pretty quickly, and then I think with the tool changer, at some point in time I was Skyping him. So he's there, and he's really knowledgeable. He knows his machines inside and out. But I guess in the U.S., so Mr. Franklin I guess he's my contact. Like I said before, you know, he was spending a good amount of his Saturday helping me out, walking me through and debugging, and we solved the electrical part, so I could at least get the machine, you know, running, and I had to hand feed it to us because the ATC wasn't working at the time. But I guess the bottom line is I wasn't expecting someone to help me out on a Saturday or on the weekend in general. But as a, you know, I have a day job like most people do when they get these machines. I have a day job, and if support is working a 9 to 5 while I'm working a 9 to 5, it's hard to fix problems. But if they're available like on my weeknights or on weekends, that's great. Then I can solve these problems quite quickly. I guess that's about it. I mean, this is, if you want a machine that can do production that fits in your garage, you know, starts at like 28 grand or so, I think this is a very good option. It's got like 400 inches per minute rapids and cutting feed rates, which is pretty good. I know if you go in and you start fiddling around with the PLC or the controller, it actually goes up to like 500. It's limited, I think. I personally don't want to do that because it works great. I don't need 100 inches per minute more and risk you know, messing something up. There's some other, so I also chose this over like the mini mill, for example, or the Haas. So the Haas 2 mill I was looking at, it doesn't fit in my garage, and there's a few other things yeah, like were kind of deciding factors. But the Haas mini mill with kind of the same features, it was kind of, I think the total came out to like 42 or 44 grand, and that's before shipping and rigging. So I was just priced out. But if you're looking for kind of like an alternative that's smaller, and it's like it's also got side doors, so if you had to stick out long parts, you could do that, which I do. I think this is a very good alternative, a very good option. It's been 100% reliable. I make parts. It's paying for itself. This controller isn't that hard to use. I guess what I can say is I'm very happy, and yeah, I would recommend this. I would recommend this to people who are, you know, somewhat familiar with CNC machining, who maybe have a product or know, you know, they're fairly confident that they can push parts out the door and get income in. And that's about it, I suppose. I mean, this is my 2-month review. I'm a very happy customer. I would recommend Syil again, and I'd probably buy from them again too. I mean, I don't have any space, but if I had space and I had, you know, if I could expand some more, I'd probably look into them again. So that's about it. Thanks for tuning in.